Hello Year 1, welcome to your maths lesson. So today I would like us to practice telling the time. So we have done this a little bit in class, so this is just a bit of a revision. So what I want us to practice doing today, we're just going to say o'clock and half past. We'll worry about the rest later. So we know that on a clock there is a big hand and there's a little hand. Now, when the big hand is pointing up towards the 12, we know that we have to say o'clock. If the big hand is pointing down to the 6, we know that we say half past. So let me show you what I mean. So on my clock faces here, you can count the numbers with me. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now I'm going to do the big hand or the minute hand in green. And it's going to point all the way up to the 12. Now Year 1, I don't know if you remember, but when we were doing this, when was this? A couple of months ago now. Sometimes when you did the minute hand, it looked the same length as the hour hand, but the minute hand has to be bigger and the hour hand's got to be a little smaller so you can tell which is which, okay? So my big hand is pointing up to the 12. So I know whatever the hour is, I'm going to have to say o'clock. All right then. So let's imagine it is 3 o'clock. So the minute hand is going to be pointing up to the 12 and the hour hand is going to be pointing to the 3. So here I would say it is 3 o'clock. Okay. The other one, we're going to look at half past. So this time, if the minute hand is pointing down at the 6, we know we have to say half past. So I'm going to have my hour hand pointing up at the 1. So looking at that, my big hand is pointing down, so I say half past 1. Okay? Big hand points up, o'clock. Big hand points down, half past. Okay, Year 1. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you a little game that you can play with your mum or your dad, your brother, your sister. You can even play it on your own. And what you're going to need is a little dice. If you don't have a dice, it's okay. Mum and dad, maybe you can say, what's the next one? What's the next one? That's okay. If you do, you can use your dice and a counter. You could use a piece of paper. I'm just going to use a coin. Okay. And what you need to do is roll the dice and move your counter around the board game. And each clock you stop on, you've got to say what the time is. So just remember, before we start, big hand, if it's pointing up to the 12, it's o'clock. If it's pointing down to the 6, it's half past. Let's have a little practice. I've drawn some of the clocks here. So look at the first one. So the big hand is pointing up to the 12. So if it's up to the 12, is it o'clock or half past? It's o'clock, isn't it? Okay. Little hand points to the 8. So it's 8 o'clock. Okay. Next one. Big hand is pointing up to the 12. Little hand points down to the 6. So if big hand is pointing up, you know it's o'clock, and the hour is 6, it's 6 o'clock. This time, big hand is pointing down. So we know if it points down, it's half past. And our little hand is pointing to the 8. So 8:30. What's the next one? Big hand points up, so it's o'clock, and it's pointing to a 4. 4 o'clock. Okay, let's try a few more. This one. Big hand points down, so it's 3:30. Okay. This one, big hand is pointing down, so it's 7:30. And finally, big hand points up, so we know it's o'clock, and it's pointing to a 9, it's 9 o'clock. So I want you to have a little practice with the game, okay? And just try and remember, if the big hand is pointing up, it's o'clock. If it's pointing down, it's 7:30, okay? So have fun playing your game and let me know how you get on, okay? Bye-bye.